All right, guys. So, New York City Mayor Eric Adams is getting ripped left and right for the fact that this guy does not want to give up power. Now, as you know, Democrats are ramping down their mandates because the writing's on the wall when it comes to COVID, because the politics has changed when it comes to COVID. It is no longer popular to enact mandates that are forcing people not to be able to live their lives anymore. People are just simply tired of living under these mandates. So Democrats have realized this because midterms are coming up and they're projected to get blown out. And you have a lot of these politicians, particularly Democrats, that are up for re-election that are like, you know what? We're done with these mandates, right? We cool now. And it just happens to come as the midterms are coming up and also as COVID is kind of experiencing a downtrend because of seasonality. I think it's very clear that COVID is seasonal at this point. So that is what is happening. Now, some people like Mayor Eric Adams, he just got elected, right? So he's not up for re-election. And this guy has given up some of his power and he's lifted some of the vaccine mandates that was a part of the Key to New York City program that was enacted under Bill de Blasio. But some of them he has kept in place. And quite honestly, it doesn't really make sense. For example, he lifted the indoor vaccine mandate, which means that if you are going into an indoor venue, you don't necessarily need to be vaccinated, right? They don't have a vaccine mandate anymore. However, he still has the employer vaccine mandate in place, which has created a very awkward situation when it comes to professional sports. And the situation that has been highlighted the most is the situation going on with Kyrie Irving in the Brooklyn Nets, who has refused to get vaccinated. Okay, now Kyrie initially was not allowed to play at all because he was unvaccinated. However, the Nets decided to let him play during away games, but he just can't play during home games. Now, again, this has created a very, very, very awkward situation for Eric Adams and kind of embarrassing as Kyrie Irving is not being allowed to play during home games in Brooklyn because of the employer vaccine mandate. However, he's allowed to attend the games because there's no indoor vaccine mandate. He's able to buy a ticket and attend the game as a guest, okay, and hug the players, sit on the sidelines, breathe, okay, spread all his cooties in the facility, but he can't do it as a player. And if you're unvaccinated as a away player, if you're coming into New York City, then you can play, right? So unvaccinated players can play. It's just unvaccinated players from that city that live in that city can't play. Right? So a lot of people have seen this as very, very, very silly. Okay. And so much so that Kevin Durant, who's a teammate of Kyrie Irving, actually came out and ripped Eric Adams for this rule that seems to make no sense. Take a look.
It's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand it at all. I mean, it's a few people in our arena that's unvaxxed, right? Like, they lifted all of that in our arena, right? So I don't get it.
It's a second mandate that says he can come in but can't play.
I don't get it. It just feels like at this point now, somebody's trying to make a statement or a point to flex their authority. But, you know, everybody out here looking for attention, and that's what I feel like the mayor wants right now, some attention, you know. But he'll figure it out soon. He better. But it just didn't make any sense. Like, there's unvaxxed people in this building already. We got a guy who can come into the building. I guess, are they fearing our safety? I don't get it. So, yeah, we're all confused. Pretty much everybody in the world is confused at this point. Early on in the season, you know, people didn't understand what was going on, but now it just looks stupid. So hopefully, Eric, you got to figure this out.
Yeah, so they're name dropping Eric Adams, right? Which shows you how pissed off people are at this guy. Because it's very clear that this guy is on a power trip. He's on a power trip. He thinks that, you know, he is the end all be all in New York City, right? And basically, in my opinion, I think that the only reason he's not lifting the employer vaccine mandate is simply because he wants to do it on his own time. Okay, he doesn't want to relinquish the authority and the power that the mayor, Bill de Blasio, former mayor, bestowed upon the mayor of New York City during the pandemic. Okay, this is the thing about these politicians. Once you give them the power, they never want to relinquish it. And that is what you're witnessing here in New York City, even though, again, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But with that being said, I'll let Eric Adams actually explain why he's keeping this in place and his response to people that are lashing out at him over the fact that unvaccinated professional athletes can't play over his silly rules. Take a look.
He was specifically talking about sports. I think it was unfair for the city to state that players who come from outside the city and are not vaccinated can play, and those who are on New York City sports teams are not allowed to play. It's not with private businesses. And we're going to continue to peel back. But let's be clear. Everyone is focusing on the sports area. They're focusing on one person. I'm focused on 9 million people. We are here. The NBA has a season because of mandates. They didn't have to cancel their season because we had mandates in place. We are here where our schools are open, where businesses are open. Our city is not being closed down. Our hospitals are not being overrun. This is why we're here. And so I'm not looking at one person. I'm looking at my city not closing down again, not having to deal with this crisis again. We're going to peel back like we did with the key to NYC, like we did with children. We're going to continue to do so. But I'm not going to be rushed in based on a season schedule. I'm going to do this right for the people of this city. And I'm not focusing on one individual. I'm focusing on 9 million people.
Basically what he's saying is that y'all not going to rush me. I'm going to get rid of it, but I'm going to do it on my time. Right? I'm not going to do it on your time. Okay? And get a load of this guy making claims that, because of mandates, we're here because of that. The NBA has a season because of mandates. And I'm like, no. You have no evidence to back up that claim, bro. We're here because the politics have changed, right? If the politics hadn't changed on this issue, then you would still have the mandates in place. Also, on top of that, it is clear, in my opinion, that COVID, in regards to cases, are seasonal. Right? It seems like during the wintertime, cases ramp up, okay? And then during the springtime and the summertime, they kind of ramp down. That's what we've kind of been seeing over the last 2 years, okay? Now, who knows? It remains to be seen whether or not that will continue, but it seems like that's what's happening here. And see, these Democrats are playing dumb with people and act like people don't understand that, look, your mandates, there's no evidence that they really did anything. Okay, well, yeah, they may have prevented, people from dying and stuff like that. But I'm not sure if the Democrats have actual real evidence to suggest that their mandates reduce cases. So with that being said, you could have just been like Florida, right, that stayed open, okay, that is experiencing a downturn in cases just like every other state is, right? Again, it doesn't really make sense. These people think that their authoritarian rule actually helped when they don't have any evidence to suggest that it did, okay? The virus has done what the virus has done regardless of their mandates. That, to me, seems to be clear, in my opinion. Yeah, so that being said, Eric Adams, he's not really trying to give up his authority, okay, despite the fact that he doesn't really have any evidence to back up his claims. But a lot of eyes are on this issue, not because of the little guys that are subject to this mandate, which is a damn shame, but because of the athletes that can't play because of this issue, particularly Yankees players, Mets players, and Kyrie Irving for the Brooklyn Nets. And Eric Adams is pissing off so many people with his stupid mandate that even Stephen A. Smith, who has been a vaccine crusader, who has been very, very, very tough and heavy on Kyrie Irving in regards to his decision not to be vaccinated, actually came out here and ripped Eric Adams and his mandate for maintaining this, despite the fact that everybody knows it makes no sense. Take a look.
There's an opportunity once again to call out the utter stupidity of the city of New York. Mayor Eric Adams, you got to step up. And I'm not talking about a play. I'm not talking about Kyrie. I'm not talking about Aaron Judge. I'm saying it has to make sense. It's not acceptable that the rule is the rule, so follow it and that's it, without you getting pushback if the rule makes no damn sense. In the Barclays Center, you have people who could come in there unvaccinated. So if they could come in there unvaccinated and sit in the stands unvaccinated, and you've lifted the mandate everywhere else, including in public schools, by the way, okay, K through 12, then why the hell can't a player play, particularly when visiting players can come and play in the Barclays Center? That's with Kyrie. With Aaron Judge, the stupidity reaches enormous levels. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the mandate. Here's why, doggy. Yankee Stadium is not an indoor facility.
All right.
It's outdoors. It's outdoors.
Yep.
Okay, I mean, there's air everywhere. You understand? There's planes flying over you for crying out loud. There's smog hovering over the Bronx and Yankee Stadium. The D train is rolling by. You understand? People can get on the D train together, but they can't stay. They can come into Yankee Stadium. What are you talking about? And then this is baseball. I mean, talk about social distancing. Every position engages in social distancing. From the catcher to the pitcher to first base to second base to the shortstop to third base, left field, center field, right field. Who the hell is within 6 feet of each other? Until you go to the dugout, and that's outdoors too. It makes no sense.
100%.
Zero.
Yeah, so the truth of the matter is, Stephen A., is that none of this stuff made sense in the first place. It never made sense. The idea that the Democrats had that they could stop a global virus, a virus that spreads globally with mandates in certain states when other states don't necessarily have mandates, okay? And the fact that we have international commerce and travel, okay, was silly. It never made sense in the first place. None of this stuff made sense. But see, at the time when this stuff was politically popular for you guys, or when you thought it was politically popular, people like you came out here and ripped people like Kyrie Irving for his decision not to be vaccinated, right? And now all of a sudden, again, the writing's on the wall, and now you want to sit here and rip Eric Adams for not relinquishing the power that people like you supported him having, right? You came out here and ripped Kyrie Irving, called for the man to lose his job, to lose his income, to lose his livelihood because he didn't want to follow a rule that you now is saying is stupid, right? You're now saying that the rule that you wanted this man to follow is stupid, right? Again, people like him, Stephen, they don't realize that you have contributed to this problem. The same problem that you're complaining about, you contributed to, okay? Because you emboldened these individuals like Eric Adams to flex this authority that made no sense in the first place. None of this stuff made sense, okay? And see, what happens is when the politics have changed, people show their true colors in terms of how they actually really feel about it, right? Stephen A. has always felt this way about this issue. He's always known deep down that, this stuff don't make sense. But you got to go along with it because, that's the politically popular thing to say as a liberal, right? I'm being responsible. I support the mandates, right? But once the mandates aren't politically popular anymore, I'm against this. This is stupid. This is dumb, right? Y'all see how this stuff works? You see how this stuff works? But never let these individuals forget. Never let these individuals forget that they were the ones that supported all this stuff. They supported the lockdowns. They supported the shutdowns. They supported the mandates. You guys supported all this stuff that really you don't have any evidence that it actually really worked all that effectively. So, yeah, I just find it fascinating how now all of a sudden everybody's coming out and ripping Eric Adams for things that they supported him doing in the past. It's really kind of funny how that works. When they all of a sudden figure out that it doesn't make sense. And when I'm like, it never really made sense. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.